There we go, and we are live. Welcome to the third episode of the Realtors. I'm David Blair. He's Trevin Perez. How's everybody doing today?
Let's go. We are ready.
How's
Here
it
we
feeling?
are.
It's Friday, and it feels like it's been a month. It's been a long week. It was a busy, productive week. How about you?
Oh man, it's been a very busy week for very different reasons than your type of busy. But we just wrapped up July,
Yeah,
so it's good to start a new month in the year. And I wish the summer was better, but hey, let's go. August
yeah.
2nd.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So let's go over a couple things we wanted to talk about today. So you and I have talked this week, and some of the topics. We'll jump into the first one. So the first one is dealing with co-op agents. So all of us deal with a co-op agent at some point or another on either side of the transaction, whether you're on the listing side or if you're on the buying side. So wanted to start with some of that. I have some thoughts, but Trevin, I'll let you jump in and give me some feedback on how you deal with a co-op agent and what that looks like to both realtors that are out there that may see this and then also buyers and sellers.
All right. So I will kick it off, even though this was really a question that came up from your experiences. But so I'll get right into it. So I think that for the most part, our agent community is really educated and very professional. We have a lot of people, though, who can be ill-informed, or our favorite type of agent community as part-time agents. um, God, I love them so much. And unfortunately, when they're part-timers, their total attention is not available to the details.
Yeah.
A numerous slew of details, right, from paperwork to just the follow-up process, or even just common courtesy among each other as fellow peers in the transaction, right? At the end of the day, you want your client to win, but there's no win without an equal balance of winning, right? The
Right. So let me let
seesaw.
me let me
Jump
let me
in.
ask you let me ask you this question. So let me ask
Go for
a
it.
specific question. Do you avoid realtors that have a bad reputation? I don't mean to avoid the realtors. Do you avoid listings with your buyers as far as showing property? If you see an agent on there that you have either had a bad transaction with or just has a bad reputation.
Wow. Wow. I don't know that I would even confront that with an honest answer. I think you will with your 25 years of experience. I won't. I'll say this: I will pursue them with high levels of caution, and I will dot my I's, cross my T's, and be extremely diligent about every detail and facet of the transaction because of their temperament or their lack of detail. So yeah, I'm scrutinizing every piece of it. So am I welcoming them to the transaction? No, I'm cringing.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll tell you. My take on it is, do I avoid them? No, I don't think you can avoid them. Ultimately, if your buyer wants to see that property, you really need to put their best interest, up front and show the property and just work through. Try to be a professional. It can be difficult sometimes. One of the things I tell customers, both on the buying and selling end, when we're talking about selling side, for example, if we're talking about marketing, they want to know, is my home going to be on Zillow? Is it going to be on Realtor.com? All these things that are the foo-foo of getting the property sold. But ultimately, what I rely on is my reputation in this business and making sure that I have a good working relationship with agents that I work with because I think it's extremely important. I want an agent that's out there showing my listings to say, I've worked with David before. David's very good to work with. Smooth transaction. That's what you want. You want someone looking forward to that transaction with you, not going into it with some apprehension that it's going to be difficult. There's going to be a lot of fighting um, between the agents over, like you said, who's going to win. So I think you have to check your ego at the door a lot of times and just put your customer's interest up front. So into that, the other thing that kind of came up this week was when you're in that situation, so you've gone to the property, you've shown it, you see who the agent is. Maybe you've had a transaction with him before, maybe you haven't, but maybe you're relying on reputation of something you've heard about that agent, which I think is probably unfair. But you're in the transaction now, Trevin, and things are starting to spiral. They're starting to go south. What are your thoughts as far as how to correct that, and keep on course to get that property to closing?
Man, I think that the first step is just having an honest conversation with the agent to make sure that we are putting our clients first, to have the most cordial engagement together, right? So that it's not a hostile environment, and we can be cordial with one another as how we interact. Or because the last thing you want to do is run into a situation where one agent is threatening to bring their broker in, right?
Mhm.
And when brokers get in, it's like there's a lot of barking for no apparent reason, when it's more of a misinterpretation, or it's just like a confusion on paperwork. Paperwork, I find, can be one of the leading causes. And that's something we talked about offline, right?
Mhm. Yeah. I love the threat of I'm gonna go tell my broker, because my thought is, what are you, 7? What are we in 5th grade? We can't as 2 adults, 2 professionals, work this out. So
Right.
I'll give you an example. So this past week, I had a transaction where, I've got a seller that is looking to buy a home. They need to sell their existing property, and we haven't been on the market long. We've been on the market maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I've had good activity. So we get an offer, which I'm excited about. The sellers are excited about, and we're going to send a counter offer. And I'm talking through the counter with the buyer's agent, and I'm immediately hit with, this property is probably not going to work for my buyer. And I'm like, wait,
No
you know,
way.
yeah, I'm like, calm down. Let's time out. Let's just take a pause. What's the issue? Well, I don't think this and I don't think that. Well, and I said, I understand that. I said, but it's your job to present that to the buyer. And we want to be fair, but again, take yourself out of the equation and present your buyer or seller's wishes to the other party, and then see how that plays out, because I think you can have a huge impact whether you realize it or not. And I think some agents actually don't realize what kind of impact they can have on the transaction by things that they
True.
say,
Yeah,
because
very
you
true.
get sellers a lot of times say, well, I was offended by that offer. um, who gets offended? I mean, it's an offer. You should be offended by all the people that showed the property that didn't make an offer. Those are the people that you should be offended by, not the
Right.
one that
Yep.
did. Not the ones that did. So that's a little bit the challenge in that. So now we're under contract. We've kissed. We've made up, and now it's a little overboard. I think because she realized where she went initially, and I kind of asked her to kind of take a step back. I said, look, let's get out of the way of the transaction. We want your buyer wants to buy, my seller wants to sell. Let them have a meeting of the minds, and go ahead and move forward. So she's okay now, but now she's a little bit on the other side of that. I can feel that through the text messaging, there's this overcompensation. It feels like now through, so I don't, we're not best friends now. We're not going to brush each other's hair later on after the transaction. But I mean, let's just get let's just get through let's just get through the transaction if we possibly can. So, I that's my take on it, is that you just have to take yourself out of that equation. So with that, the next kind of lead in with that is I've looked a lot on, since we've started doing the podcast. I've seen some comments out there, not necessarily regarding our show, but just others, is that there is a hatred almost,
Yeah.
it feels like, for real estate agents and their commission, especially with the new NAR ruling that's going to be in effect on the 17th of this month. But why is it, do you think, that realtors in general have such a bad reputation?
Yeah. So, Blair, I think that especially what research shows online is that for the most part, it becomes a question of disclosing. Have we disclosed enough details to the buyer or seller? And if we haven't, there's a level of potential animosity or concern that we weren't transparent in the deal. And when you look at online stats, that's what they talk to, is just inaccurate information or fail to disclose. And obviously, I think when I think about our training, mostly everything is always about disclosure and establishing what the rules are, and all of our language and our paperwork say the same thing. So of course it hinges on an interesting scenario because of the NAR lawsuit too, because that is all about disclosure and being more transparent. Like the commissions weren't transparent enough, but evidently it wasn't, right? And that's why a lawsuit was able to have some legs and move forward through our judicial system. So yeah, I think it's crazy to me that realtors have a lack of love in the marketplace in comparison to like car salesmen or lawyers.
So
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I think we're currently rated. I looked at something probably within the last year, and it was professions that are the least trusted. Car salesman is still number one, but real estate agent was in the top five. And for someone that's been in this industry for a while, like yourself, it's a little you kind of you're a little offended by it because
Yeah,
you know what you do and how you handle your business, and what a tough job it can be. So you want people to respect that. I think it's a product of what you see in the media, what you see on television, what we do to ourselves as realtors when you're looking on Facebook or social media. I think it's a and it's not. I don't want to fault any of those agents that do it. I've done it before, so I'm not passing judgment on those agents. But when you're out there and you're posting, hey, got a closing today, and you know you're giving thanks or whatever. That I think that's generally comes from the heart from a lot of agents. They're wanting to share, share that with the public and just say, hey, I'm an active agent that's out here
right.
working. I don't think it's really braggadocious. I mean, some of that can be, but when
It,
you look at what's on, the different little, the little short snippets through, whether it's Instagram or whether it's through TikTok or YouTube or any of these, you see these real estate agents that are focused on the money and not the transaction. So I think the general public feels that, well, you make too much money first of all, because they don't know what the breakdown of that transaction is. They see a commission, they see a bulk commission of what's charged, and they assume that that money is going to Trevin. Trevin gets all of that money. There's no fees that you pay. There's no split that you pay. All of that money goes directly into Trevin's pocket. You don't pay taxes on it. It's just all your money, and that's not that's not the we know that's not the case. There's several people in my pocket. There's a broker
lots.
that's taking part of that. There's a National Association of Realtors that's taking that. There's a long line of that. There's my wife
Uncle
that's taking
Sam.
that. There's the Uncle Sam. I mean, all of that. The line is to the right. It's a
Yeah,
pretty long line of people that are out there doing that. So I think that's probably part of it. I think when you see that, because I'll actually go down the rabbit hole. I get offended. I'm looking late at night and these comments. I'm like, why do they hate us so much? And I look at some of the profiles of the people that make these vicious comments, and I'm like, where are you coming from? That what I want to know what industry they're in, because
exactly.
I want to go out and I want to put that same kind of hate towards their
Exactly.
towards them.
Exactly. So,
So
so, and you make a great point, right? I think on some level, we have to talk to the idea of our social posting strategy as realtors, right? I think we want to show we're active. We want to show that we're selling properties and we're closing. And hey, look at me as a potential resource for you, my
right,
friend, on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, right? God knows where else. But to the general population, it does look a little like you're bragging, right?
yeah,
Especially, if we think about social media as a whole, right? I think that there's an element, and there's somewhat of a problem with social media because everything we share on social media is happy-go-lucky, right? We're all super uber successful. Nobody deals with any stress in their life, right? Nobody shares losses, pain, struggles, right? And
hmm
it's funny, if there's what's his name, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Mhm, mhm.
I think we all know of him. He's super popular. He's really big in the social media world, serial entrepreneur. He's only 48 years old. The guy is just a genius. And he talks to the idea that, one, we all should be posting more and doing podcasts, right? Or
Right.
creating content, which is
Mhm.
what
Sure.
me and my boy Dave are doing here, right? And putting ourselves out there, sharing from our heart what we know and what we think, right? But the idea is not just to share the other stuff, right? Hey, look at me, another for sale sign, right? Another sold property, boom, boom. But share the real world, the realtors, right? There's some commonality of value when you share your real authenticity outside of just a paycheck. And I think that we should start seeing more people move in that direction. Like, for example, Gary, in one of his content pieces I shared with you, we didn't get to talk about it, Dave.
Mhm.
I think you left me unread on that text message, by the way. Talk to me about that. What was up with that? Why you do that? I don't care. We're live, bro. Like, respond to me. You know what I'm saying? But no, seriously, it was a post that said, hey, instead of necessarily sharing like, just sold, or another listing under contract, but
Mhm.
like maybe show a post that's like, damn, this is hard, right? Or shoot,
No.
another
Well,
door slammed on my face. I mean,
you you may be onto something because I think we do this as an experiment because my wife and I talk about this sometimes when you're looking at social media and everybody's on some form of social media these days, but when you look on there you see, I tell her, you see the best side of everything. You
yeah,
see you see vacations, you see the great dinner. I've done it. I take pictures of my plate. I'm like, look at this food, it's amazing.
yeah,
If I go to McDonald's, I'm not snapping a picture of my three-piece chicken nuggets. I'm not sending pictures of that. But I think you're onto something. I think we should do that. I think we should go on to social media and say, man, this week has been really horrible. I didn't sell anything this week. I got fired, from two listings, and I'm telling you, I guarantee you that gets more
yeah,
comments and likes than you posting, "Hey, this property went under contract in 3 days." I
right.
guarantee you.
Right, right. Absolutely, right? Because I think that's the better story, not just for the consumers who need our services, but for other realtors who are feeling the same strain and pressure. Here's a funny stat I just read somewhere that said, there's like 75% of realtors fail within the first year. And then another 87% will leave the business after 5 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're beyond a survivor, right? I mean, I'm in it for 8 years now, and I've definitely seen the roller coaster effect of this business. While you have those great years, you have some years that are a little more leaner, and maybe McDonald's chicken nuggets are more in the menu than you would care to admit to. And maybe, like you said, I think that would be a cool idea, at least an experiment, to
Yeah.
post more about the struggles. Hashtag, struggling realtor. Hashtag, living through it and striving forward, because we can't control interest rates.
Mhm.
We can't control the inflation, right? We can't control the fact that buyers are not stupid and they're not going
Mhm.
to go and put themselves in an over leveraged situation,
Sure.
right? So we just have to hang tight and
Mhm.
support clients where they are.
Yeah.
So I love that messaging. I think we got
Yeah.
to do more content around that.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely agree. So with that, you're talking about the market a little bit. How do you think, you're in Central Florida, I'm in Northeast Florida, so we're only a couple hours away from each other. But overall, how do you think the spring market, which is really done? I mean, our peak
Yeah.
season is what, March through June, July, maybe in that time period, and now we're getting back into a time where kids are going to school. My kids are going back to school next week. So what do you think overall about the spring market this year?
I'm waiting for the spring market. It hasn't hit yet. I mean, I love that. You got these big agents, and God bless them all, right? But going back to just keeping it real, and I think that that should be that should be our subtitle: keeping it real. We got like bummy clothes on, and you see us on the side of the road hitching a ride or using Uber to do our appointments. But and I think we might have more success because they'll feel bad for us. But no, I think that definitely when I talk to other agents in this market, they're like, "Hey, retail, how's it been for you?" And we kind of
Mhm,
share war stories. Some people are taking more time off to for
mhm,
education or for family time. Some people have really enjoyed the summer with their
mhm.
family instead of fighting in this tighter market space. And I think that for the most part, it's been a little slower than normal summer markets, right? Because I think this should be our best period of time in a year
Mhm.
to close deals, right? The
Yeah.
biggest percentage of sales should be in this window of time. And it's been lukewarm. It's been lukewarm.
Well, for some people it has.
Oh, snap. Oh, snap. Hey,
Um,
true.
I think it really depends on, I think it's always gonna be what you put into it, and the market's always gonna change. And, I don't know if I've mentioned it, but I've done this for 25 years, in case I didn't mention that, at the top of the show. Um, so I think with that though,
Sorry, I
every office,
didn't
no
hear you.
matter
Say that again. Say that again. What did you say?
25 years. But, having
Just to
having
put some
having
emphasis.
having said that, I actually do like working, with newer agents. There's that energy. They haven't been beat down by the real estate market over this time period. So there's an unrealistic expectation, which I appreciate, and I like. But any office I've ever been, and I've been at three different offices. I've been most of my career with ERA. Been with Coldwell Banker for a little bit, and then with OfferPad, we were both there, and we're both
Mhm.
top agents with that company. And if you look at each one of those offices, there's a small percentage of agents in each office that do the majority of the business. The saying is that 10% of the agents do 90% of the business. That's really true. I think that's definitely true, and I think it's really, the market is going to be what it is. You have to adjust to the market. So when we're in a market like we were 2 years ago, where things are flying off the shelf, properties are getting multiple offer contracts, and things are not even on the market for a week before they go under contract. That's great, but that's not the norm. There's a constant cycle in real estate, and if you go back over 10, 20 plus years, 30, 40, whatever the number is, and you look, you're going to see that same cycle. You're going to see where the properties are going to go up, and then it's going to come back down. It's always going to adjust. You can't continue on that elevation. Now, I think that we've set a new mark here within the last couple of years to where, it's going to be pretty tough, in my market, I think, for properties to get down to where they were 3 or 4 years ago. It would take a huge correction in our market to reset those prices to that level, because they did go up at a historic high, and those are the properties that are still selling, today. I wrote 4 contracts this month. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but, on those properties within that price point of where they're still selling. So I think the market is what you make of it. It's always going to be an up and down. There's going to be challenges within the market, but I think as an agent, you just have to adjust to it. And I think once you adjust to it, if you're out there and you're doing the things that we need to do in business, there's always going to be divorce. There's always going to be, unfortunately, people are going to pass away, and that's the transfer of property that way. Those things are always going to exist regardless of what type of market it is. So those things are never going to go away, and because that doesn't go away, you're always gonna you're always gonna have those little challenges to deal with. So any thoughts on it?
I need sound effects to play in the background, like crickets or something. No, I concur, and I think that part of our connection in doing a podcast and just also our friendship, it coexists because, I've always appreciated your gusto for the role of being an agent, and consistency. Yeah, because you're right. Whether the market is hot or slow, you've been extremely consistent in this particular endeavor. What's nice about being an agent, for those of us listening on this call who may be realtors or may not be, the best part about being an agent for me has been teaching me the skills outside of just helping a buyer or a seller.
Mhm.
And so I've learned to do other things inside of the industry to put food on the table, so I'm not stuck
Yeah.
eating chicken nuggets every goddamn day. So yes, Blair's a beast at staying consistent in the business, and so I'm not. I'll just keep it real, but I stay busy and I stay consistent to hitting my goals. And speaking of goals, does that take us to our next question, which I think
I
just ties in
I
nicely?
I think
Would
so.
you
I
agree?
think so. Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
So that takes us into, and this is perfect the way this flew in, right? I didn't know that your montage was going to turn into this, but it was brilliant, brilliant again, Blair, brilliant. Um, I swear I need a mixer so we have some sound effects. I think it'll make it more fun and interesting, like the Dan Lebertard show on ESPN. Do you remember him, the radio
Yeah,
guy?
I do. I love that guy.
Uh, yeah, he's still out there. He's on YouTube.
Mhm.
Give us a shout, man. Put us on your show. We're
We're
available.
well,
Just connect.
we're working with a low budget right now. We don't have a big crew. There's believe it or not, there's not,
True.
20 people and a sound mixer behind me right now. There's probably a 12-year-old, cooking waffles on the other side of that wall at the moment. So
Child
that's
labor.
that makes up the crew. So one of the segments that we're going to add in on every week that I really like is the Kiss Mary Kill. So on Kiss Mary Kill, we come up with three topics that kiss one, marry one, kill one. So this week is lead generation, cold calling, which could be on the phone or door knocking, and sending postcards or mailers, mail outs as we call them. So, Trevin, kiss, Mary kill.
I think that the historical favorite was always mailers. I don't have a good history of doing them consistently, and mailers you have to be religious to. So I will say that I am killing mailers because it requires an extensive financial budget to make it work, and I've done those postcard mailers, the newsletters, and these companies will tell you, you got to be consistent sending them either
Mm,
monthly, quarterly, but consistent. And what's great is in my community, we have probably a couple of thousand homes in our subdivision. We're pretty
mm,
we're pretty big here with it's a mixed community. It's almost similar to Celebration,
mhm,
where you have your businesses here, your Publix, your CVS, your townhouses that you can buy, your rental apartments, and your single family homes, small and large, right? Goes the gamut in price range. Um, but I would always look at the realtors who would send us mailers, and I'm saving all this material because it's great material. I'm like, oh, this
yeah.
is great. Let me repurpose your efforts in creating all this documentation. And
Sure.
this past year and even this year, I've not gotten a single mailer. So nobody's doing it over here
Mhm,
currently
mhm,
this year, all of this year so far. So I thought
mm,
that was a great anecdote for me to see what should I do, right?
mhm.
So I think people are pulling away from it. So I would say kill mailers
So we're killing
and
mailers.
killing mailers. Yeah. You need me to repeat all of that again? Yeah.
I'm jotting it down as we speak.
Okay. Okay. Take notes, buddy. Take notes. So then on the kiss or marry side of things, I have a love hate relationship with. I'll just say I'll keep it real. I think I'm gonna kiss. what did we say? Door knocking. I'm going to kiss door
Mm,
knocking
mm,
just
mhm,
because it's hard and
yeah,
nobody was doing it during COVID. We didn't need to, but I think
sure.
consistently from the start of this, for me, cold calling is the one you marry. You just have to do, even though I hate it, even
Mm,
though I know most people hate it in our industry, and I know that's the gold standard is cold
mhm,
calling. So I would say you have to marry cold calling. Um, that's what I was trained on from day one,
mhm,
and I think that's the only thing that survives. Even
mhm.
with all the technology, that I adopted some software platforms, and I was getting into SMS and all these campaigns. And at the
Hey,
end of
hey,
the
keep
day,
your personal life keep your personal life to yourself.
what do you mean?
You're getting into SMS. I don't know what you. Oh, okay, okay, never mind, never mind. I thought it was something else. I thought it was something else.
Wow, wow, please, sir. Back to my montage. I was saying that I see, a phone call is the easiest way to get to a no, right? Or hey, there's a possibility. Let's keep talking. And there's no faster way of securing business than picking up the phone. So with that said, I'm gonna marry the phone, even though I hate it. What's
So,
yours?
so kiss, marry, kill. Kill for me, I think is going to be it's gonna be the mailers. I would say just because, below my desk right now, there is a trash can that has probably 50 postcards. They're the political postcards that they send out now that are approximately this big. I don't look at any of them. I bring it in the mailbox, and I'm basically just going through the trash with each one. I might glance at them. Um, I did appreciate that at one time, as far as like you said, some of the information that was sent out there by other real estate agents, and I did that. That was what we call, for those that don't know that term, it's called farming, where you pick a geographic area and you're sending out postcards, and this is your farm area that you're working. I don't know that a lot of realtors do that anymore. Realtors that have been in the business, 20 plus years, like like myself, would probably do that at one time, but I don't think that's the same anymore. But I would venture to say that there are probably still some agents, some old school agents that do that and probably do pretty well with it. Because I do know some agents that are really solid in a particular area, and if you talk to a listing agent, or not a listing agent, rather a seller, they may say, "Hey, this is the person to go to within that area." So they've become the source of knowledge for that area. So I think some of it leads back to that. But I just think right now, um, there's so many ways to reach a broader audience within a quicker time period. We're doing this podcast to try to reach the masses eventually. And I think with a postcard is what we call like a shotgun approach. So basically, you have this big window, and you're just shooting out there, and you're hoping that it's gonna land on something. It's going to land on either a seller or a potential buyer that's gonna reach back out to you, because of that piece that you sent out. So I would probably definitely kill it, but I do think there's value in, if you're working a particular niche. I'm not sure how you want to pronounce it, but if you're working a specific one, it's probably a benefit to send out and to be the source of that. So I don't want to kill that in the sense that agents are going to jump on me and say I've farmed this area for years with postcards and I'm the best there ever was. So if that's your deal, great, go for it. Um, the the marry, for me, I think it's lead generation, because lead generation, I think if you don't do lead generation, you're eventually going to go out of business. And this is a business that you can feel like sometimes you're unemployed. If you go a couple of weeks and you haven't done real estate, it feels like you're really disconnected from it. So I try to carry a pretty good stable of listings, so at that time you're always going to be consistent and have that. Um, but the lead generation is a constant thing that you have to do on a daily basis. You have to manage that. You have to set aside time for it. So I think by doing that, you're gonna stay in business. And then cold calling, is that what we did with OfferPad? Not really. Cold calling, I
No,
think, is
true.
where, yeah, I think cold calling is where, that's unsolicited. So if you go up in the current in the current environment, you go up and knock on someone's door and ask them about selling their property, it's probably not going to go well. I do see the occasional for sale by owner sign, and I'll call occasionally and ask, it's just, hey, if I had a buyer that were interested in the property, would you be willing to, to co-op? Are you willing to work with realtors? And some of them are, and then some of them are not. But that's probably to the extent of what my cold calling consists of, in the current market. And I think, even with that, with for sale by owners that are out there. Oh, interesting fact: 85% of for sale by owners end up working with a real estate agent, and that's directly from the National Association of Realtors last year. So what that means is that whether they listed that property on the open market or not, they worked with a real estate agent, and it's probably because of what I just suggested. It's an agent that maybe called and said, "Hey, I saw your sign. You're not currently listed, but would you be willing to work with a realtor if I brought a buyer?" And I think you have to do that because your buyer, if you're truly working in a buyer's interest, you're not only looking at what is available on the MLS, but you're also looking at other opportunities for them. So if they're driving a neighborhood and they see that sign and they love that house, you want to make sure that you've at least got some information on that property for them as well, that you can say, hey, I spoke with the seller; they are willing to co-op with us. So that's for me. So that's all I got. It's been a week. I'm gonna grab a bourbon behind me. I'm gonna sip on that. I'm going to show some property this weekend. What are you getting into? What do you got going on?
Man, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I was napping here. My bad. Yeah, no, that was really good. And I like the distinction of what you just said about, you don't consider it cold calling, even though people forget that they requested information. So
Oh
I
yeah,
sort of feel like it's still cold calling at the end of the day.
yeah,
But yeah, no, this weekend I got to deal with locks at some of the properties and
yeah,
take some new
yeah,
pictures of some of the bedrooms that aren't rented yet. So yeah, I'm playing landlord and
yeah.
property manager this weekend.
The same. I've got a property that I've been struggling with to get a lawn service company out to maintain the property. We had someone set up, and then they bailed. So we're going to have to fix that. So I told my seller, I said, we'll get that resolved one way or another. And usually, one way or another involves me and a
Yeah.
lawnmower. Uh,
Well, I thought that was cool. You did some plumbing work last weekend.
I
I
did some
think
plumbing work last week, and the cool thing is if I do mow, I know it's hot outside, but I'm gonna wear this jacket doing it. I'm gonna wear this, and I'm gonna
you
I'm
got to
gonna
be
cut that grass.
professional and you got to
Exactly,
post a really cool picture on social media showing
exactly.
success with a for sale
Well,
sign and a mower.
awesome. Hey, it's been fun again. Just a reminder out there, there's an email at the bottom. You can reach us at Gmail. Go on to our YouTube page, follow, subscribe. We hope you're enjoying the content that we put out there. And I'll let Trevin says I talk too much. I try to talk a little bit less. But then if I didn't say anything, then we would sit here for 30 minutes and there would be no sound whatsoever. So I'll let Trevin close for this episode.
I played great sounds for us today. Well, hey, guys, we thank you for your time. Those of you who joined us and participated, like Dave said, leave us a message, drop us an email, let us know what you think, give us your thoughts, and or reach us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, Twitch, Telegram, CB Radio. You can reach us on any form of communication. Just reach out, and we hope that you have an amazing weekend. Signing
Awesome.
out.
All right. See you. Peace.
Peace.